the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Wow Report. I'm co-founder of World of Wonder, Fenton Bailey, joined by my partner and co-founder, Randy Barbato. And it's a super special edition because this week we have Jessica Chastain, star and producer of The Eyes of Tammy Faye, joined also by Michael Showalter, the director. Thank you so much, both of you, not only for talking to us today, but for turning our documentary into our little documentary into a big movie. We're so thrilled and honored, and we're here in New York for the premiere. The movie opens today. It's Friday. It opens today, so go to the movie theater and see it.
And oh my God, it's so good! Congratulations, you guys! Like it was
Thank you.
It was an emotional roller coaster watching it. It was so weird for us. I'm going to jump in with the first question. The passion. Oh my God, Jessica, when I know you've worked so long to make this movie. In fact, when we first met about it, I know that was 8 years ago because I was on the way to Topeka where my kids were being born, and they're now almost 8 years old. And I know you'd been working to make it even longer than that, like 10 years or something like that. So tell us, like, where did the fire and passion come from? Like, why was it so important to make this film, and what were the obstacles?
Well, actually, it was 8 years ago. It was your guys' documentary. I remember I was at the press tour for Zero Dark 30, and I saw the documentary again, and I just thought, oh, this is the most incredible story. You guys really showed a side of Tammy that I didn't know. I mean, I had just kind of grown up knowing the drama and the media's sensationalism of her. And you really showed the real Tammy. And I thought, like, wow, this is so important. The fact that everyone's, so interested in how much makeup she's wearing and nobody's actually talking about what she actually did and what she stood for. That began my journey of wanting to play her. And I remember sitting with you guys at breakfast and not knowing really what it meant, but I was just like, I just want to make this, and you guys trusted me. So I'm so grateful for you for seeing my passion and my love for your documentary and trusting me to put this story together.
You saw The Eyes of Tammy Faye, the documentary, then during the press tour of Zero Dark 30, which is a very dark movie. Yeah. Did Tammy Faye sort of, I don't know, cheer you up or?
Absolutely. I didn't even make that connection until you just said that. I mean, Zero Dark 30 is so much about I'm playing a woman whose entire decade is a quest for revenge. It's about like she's looking to, like, it's an eye for an eye. And Tammy Faye was the opposite. I remember the story you guys told me about her with those teenage boys that were teasing her and saying terrible things, and she takes in, and then she just turns the cheek and she just walks across the street and she says, "Hi guys, yeah, I'm Tammy," and I think it's beautiful. So perhaps in some sense she was medicine, and she still is medicine for a society that hurt just creates more hurt. She was able to know if meanness is coming at me, it's probably because they have a lot of hurt inside them and they feel unseen. So how can I make them feel seen? And by doing that, she was healing people.
Awesome. Michael, we're huge fans of your work. It's smart, it's funny, full of heart. Can you talk a little bit about how this film fits in with your body of work, and also like precisely what drew you to wanting to make it?
I knew the story of Tammy Faye Bakker and Jim Bakker from having lived through it. My father is from Roanoke, Virginia, and so I kind of, when we would go there, would kind of be a little bit around people that were watching televangelists on television, and so I had a kind of familiarity with it, and also just watching it on TV, like I remember watching it on TV with a kind of strange fascination, kind of the way I might watch like an infomercial or something, like a, like for Proactive, or like QVC or something. It's like you can't take your eyes off it because it's just such its own self-contained world, but it's also really entertaining in a way, and but also it's sort of foreign, but yet incredibly charismatic. And I remember feeling that way about them. And then of course, like, the scandal was, everywhere, and you couldn't go shopping without seeing both of them on the cover of every magazine. But I think I always had some sense that, like, she was, like, I remember being kind of ambivalent about her mistreatment. Like, I certainly wasn't on the bandwagon, but I also didn't know everything either. And so I'll try to to sort of make this as brief. I also am very fascinated by Jessica. I think Jessica is a really compelling. I was a semiotics major in college, and so semiotics, we look at things from all sorts of different angles, and I think Jessica is a really compelling, like, movie star. She's sort of, and I've noticed her, I sort of see her, I see the kind of the activism that she does and the way that she presents herself and the choices that she makes, and I think she's compelling. So what on earth would I do making a movie with her? But somehow we found each other. And when I knew the kind of movie that she wanted to make and saw your film, I was totally on board, because I think Tammy, I love the idea of going deeper and seeing what's behind the mask. This idea that behind all that makeup is a human being. And to take it a step further, to start seeing the makeup as a positive and not even as a negative, is that there's something beautiful about her makeup, and that it's armor.
Yeah,
it's armor, and it's her. She loves makeup, and that's good. Like, she loves all that makeup, and it gives her it's something that she escapes into, and it's beautiful.
that's right. She had these kind of stumpy little eyes. She didn't. I mean, she told us. She said, I don't really have great eyes, and so that makeup kind of like made them pop, made them unmissable. It was like such a powerful, turning something that was maybe a disadvantage into a very powerful weapon.
Yeah, I mean, if she were around today with all the eye makeup that is so, like, the amount, the smoky eye and the thick lashes and stuff, she would be like, everyone would be emulating her.
She would be at the Met Ball. She would have been at the Met Ball.
Yeah, she'd be at the Met Ball. Yeah.
To be honest, though, Jessica, when we first met you and you said you wanted to play Tammy Faye, I was like, wow, really? Like, because I couldn't immediately see it, but when I saw the film,
Oh my God.
it was uncanny. So often when you watch a film, you think there's a great actress playing a role, and you're fully invested in the role, but you also know they're playing a role. I was like, I swear to you, I felt Tammy Faye was on the screen.
It was so intense. Like, even like little things, like the way you moved your fingers, like, it was crazy. Like, when Fenton and I watched it, we watched it on a weekend, and we both were calling each other like, I feel so weak. Like, it freaked us out.
Can I interject one thing too? Is, like, I don't know if you know, Jessica studied. I won't speak this, but Jessica knows everything about Tammy's behavior. And she made this discovery that when Tammy eats, like, a cookie, she, like, lifts up her shoulders, and kind of, like, it's this sort of, like, it makes her feel good. Like, anytime she, like, eats a cookie, she sort of, like, lifts up her shoulders, and, like, it's like this little moment. And you see it in the movie. There's a couple times where she has a little treat, like she eats a cookie or she takes a sip of her Coke, and she goes, like, and, like, and it's like, that's, like, next level, and that's just coming from her intuition. That's not like she's, and then I'm going to drink the Coke, and then I'm going to do that. It's like she's just there. She's just
Became her.
Yeah.
You became
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a strange thing because I never met her, but I love her so much. I feel such jealousy that you guys got to spend so much time with her because I, out of all the jobs I've done, this was the most fun to research. I just loved watching all the videos of her. I loved watching her crack up when she couldn't hold it together. I loved to watch her reach out to others and get emotional and pray for them. And I loved just like how largely she lived life. For me, I can be quite shy and embarrassed. And Fenton, I get it. Like energetically, I'm more reserved for sure. Like she's so kind of out there with her arms open, and it's something my grandmother has always tried to inspire in me. It's like leaping into my life, and not being embarrassed and not being shy. And it's easier to play someone reserved and someone, where you don't have to put so much energy forward. But to study her, it really is a lesson of how lucky we are to be together, how lucky we are, how beautiful this life is, and how every moment really needs to be celebrated, and you need to be grateful for it. So I'm so grateful you guys allowed me the opportunity to get to know her.
Well, wow. I mean, I think meeting and knowing Tammy was absolutely a blessing. And I think so much of what she said and did really inspires what we did at World of Wonder. She's kind of our patron saint, right, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, and you guys may or may not know this, but Fenton and I are kind of also obsessed by drag queens.
Yeah.
And
Oh, we know.
Oh, really?
and and the thing about drag queens is that a lot of people sort of are either dismissive or they just think it's about hair and heels and makeup. But really, our attraction, and we love all that stuff, but what we love is their artistry, their tenacity, their heart. Like, and now that you're kind of an honorary drag queen, Jessica, I wondered, because there is this connection between Tammy and drag
Yes.
queens. There always has been. And do you share that point of view? And did you feel like a drag queen ever while you were making this?
Well, here's the thing. I think drag queens are some of the most courageous, brave people on this earth because to be authentically who you are, I don't see drag or even Tammy, a lot of people say it's like a covering up. I see it more as like, this is who I am inside, and I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to put it on the outside. And that to me is like very, very few people do that because they're too scared. And so I guess I strive to be that way. I strive to be Tammy had the fearlessness of a drag queen. And I say that with the utmost admiration for that kind of courage. And I wish more people would be authentically who they are. But I'm still shy. Like I saw Andrew on Drag Race, and he's like walking and like does a spin and like down, and I was like, I could never do that. Oh my gosh, he's like, I get embarrassed really easy. I never throw myself a birthday party or even when someone's like making a big deal. We had the Toronto premiere, and it was so beautiful and very emotional because the audience was incredibly supportive. But I started to feel like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, like during the applause because so many people were looking at me, and I strive to want to be as fearless to be looked at as Tammy was and as drag queens are.
Well, it's so funny you say that because just as you were talking, I had a sort of flashback to the premiere of the documentary at Sundance, and Tammy was there, and like when it ended, there was sort of silence, and Randy and I were like, "Oh my God, the audience didn't like it," and then there was this huge sort of wave of applause, and never had an experience like it. But it was what it really was the love for Tammy, and you could just
Yes.
feel this sort of. I get a little like choked up just talking about it, and I was looking on Twitter, and you had a standing ovation at Toronto, and I think two things: one, that people love Tammy Faye, and two, that you and Michael and the entire cast really captured the whole Tammy Faye experience in this movie. I mean, and I think people need that love and that release and that kind of sense of, it's not fun, it is fun, it's sort of optimism too, right? And that just the need for that feeling. You know, we're living in a bit of a zero dark 30 every day.
Yes.
I'll just say too, just to continue heaping praise on Jessica, but
Let's do it.
And to a little bit just to Jessica's performance, and I you know, it's like I hope, you know, it's like, you don't know if you'll ever get an opportunity to say these things, so I'll say it now. It's like, I think as someone who loves great acting and loves great performances, what that standing ovation was for me was it's a gift. When an actor gives you a performance like that, it's a gift. It's a gift to the audience because it's rare. It's not every day that you get to see someone at the top of their craft giving all of themselves to a role, and Jessica does that in this movie, you know, like, and that's a gift, whether you like it, whatever you think. Like, just for a second, just stop and think about what Jessica gave of herself in this performance in honor of Tammy Faye. But I know, as someone who's you know, not much of an actor but has given it a shot, it's like being an acrobat or a stunt person. You can't go halfway. There's nothing like you I mean, and I don't know, Jessica would maybe have a different opinion of this, but what I see in actors, and Andrew the same way, is like, you are throwing yourself up against a wall all day long, basically, and you're putting yourself through a lot of pain to get that performance. It's not like, you know, some of those scenes and then all of a sudden she's like, okay, let's go eat lunch. You know, it's like you're putting your body through those experiences, and that takes a huge toll of you. And so it's a gift when an actor does that. They're giving you a part of themselves because they put themselves through hell.
Was it going through hell to do it?
It wasn't, I mean, it was exhausting. It wasn't going through hell because I love her. I will say one thing that kind of connected me to her is I really felt like her heart was on the outside of her body. And so, you know, a lot of people, I think there was a misperception of her that how could she be authentic? She's crying all the time. You know, that kind of making fun of her, again, in our cynical culture that really just celebrates being cool and aloof and cynicism. And she wasn't like that. So she allowed herself to be a living, breathing, feeling human being and to be affected by others around her. And I knew that I had to be that way. So if I was embarrassed.
I remember on the last day you said, when it was done, you said, I'm going to miss her.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss her.
And I do. Like, I still, like, I hear her voice in my head. It's the strangest thing. And when we were shooting, you know, I was constantly like, I'm going to allow myself to push myself beyond what I think is possible. Or like, yes, people are going to probably make fun of me. They're going to, you know, you're going to make fun of me. But also, she thought that every day and she didn't care. She just wanted to make them smile and she wanted to make them feel loved and she wanted to heal them. And many times at the end of the day, Michael would say something to me and I'd start crying. Even when we weren't shooting. Because he would say something sweet to me, not, you know. But it would just, I just kind of felt like, I was like, I've got to somehow figure out how to put my vulnerability front and center in order to play her.
I remember when we first went out to Palm Springs to persuade Tammy to let us make the film about her, and we took her out for lunch, right? And then we said, well, what do we get? And she said, let's do it. And she took the release, and it was like 190 degrees in Palm Springs. I mean, you know, we were completely melting. She was
we were dripping, and there was not a drop on her. She was like flawless.
And she signed it on the back of the car. But before she signed it, she says, no, you're not going to make fun of me, are you? Aww. And it was such a moment because she is fun and she is about not taking yourself too seriously. And the film is funny. You know, she is a funny person. And I just remember that moment and like, we were like, no, we're not. Because she was such a special person. And then right after that, she did an interview. We did an interview outside. And I swear to God, Randy was filming. I was talking to her. I don't know how we avoided passing out. And she could have gone on for hours. Just like sat there in the broiling
crazy.
heat.
I mean, that's such a level of trust right there. But also, you guys aren't going to make fun of me, are you? It's just a sense of, but okay, I'm going to trust you. I mean, it's in your documentary when she signs Shepard's book. I mean, she's just kind of like, I'm going to trust everyone. I'm going to trust that you're going to do right by me. And I'm going to keep trusting over and over and over again. And I think that's a quality that I wish more people had.
One of the things I really love about your film is like, and I imagine was a big challenge, was landing the tone of it. And I felt that like, I thought Abe's script was amazing. I felt like in the original doc, we left a few breadcrumbs about the power and politics of the Christian conservatives. And the world has changed so much. It was the beginning of that. And I felt like you sharpened some of that messaging. But I wondered if you could talk a little bit about it and if you guys had discussions about the tone and what role politics might play in the film.
I'll say personally, it's interesting when I became involved in the movie. Obviously, we were in the middle of all the horribleness politically, and I was listening to this podcast called The Dream, which is about multi-level marketing and the history of multi-level marketing in this country, which is Amway and Lulu Row and these communities where, well, I mean, these businesses where there's like kind of a product, but it's not really a product, and then everybody, and simultaneously as Tammy Faye project was coming along, is that there's this like, what he who shall not be named, he was going and listening to that guy, I can't remember his name, but there's some preacher that he used to go see in New York, and it's all the same stuff. It's this sort of like, go get rich, that's your God-given right, like take as much as you can, and that it's connected to this multi-level marketing, and it's very woven into sort of the American ethic, is this idea that like, God wants, and that's what this multi-level marketing thing is. A lot of it, there's a Christian component to it, which is like, go get rich and get rich off your friends and family. And as this was, and it's okay. There's no moral issue there. Like, you're allowed to do that, because I think one of the things, this is a really weird long answer. One of the things that I struggle with so much with televangelism is the naked asking for money. Is the just, how do you do that? Like, how do you just like look into a camera and be like, give us money, give us more money, we keep needing money? Like, I hate asking for money. I hate borrowing money. But it's somehow been made okay in that community. Like, there's no issue there. It's fine. You don't need to worry about doing that. And then if you trace it through, it all gets into this stuff with the Bakers and Reagan and Amway and that woman who was the education secretary. Like, the links are so,
it's shocking,
straight. Like, the lines are straight.
It's all of one piece.
It's not like it's not like if you dig back there you'll find it somewhere. It's like draw straight lines, and it runs right through the Bakers. It runs right through the Bakers and Jerry Falwell and all of that stuff. It is a straight line from there to where we are now, and I couldn't even come close to understanding it, other than to say it was on all our minds.
I think about it still to this day, and in fact, Trump as a kid, I think it was Norman Vincent Peale.
Yes, Norman Vincent Peale.
The power of positive thinking.
The power of positive thinking. Yes, exactly.
That idea that if you dream it, you can become it. It's all sort of wrapped up with the American dream, and the idea that if you buy something, you can be transformed. Transformed through a transaction, and it's such a kind of complicated idea. But I think the Bakers were slightly different. In the sense that they weren't like Falwell threatening fire and damnation if you didn't give. They were like, well, here's a theme park, come play with us, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think also too in just terms of human nature, when you look throughout history, I mean, we've had the pandemic, we've all been away from each other for so long. I think it's about to be the biggest party that's ever happened. I mean, we kind of go from extremes. You know, we went from the 1919, Spanish flu, and then all of a sudden it was the Roaring Twenties. So it kind of, and I think especially with Tammy, growing up in this Pentecostal environment where it was like you can't have makeup, you can't have like anything fun. Now here's a world where actually, like, why can't we have beautiful things? Like, why can't we do, love each other and wear makeup and dance and, love who we love? So I really think also too, it's a reaction to her childhood where she was like so much without that for her, like God was about beauty and love. And I don't think she saw it in a
No,
sense of like I need to be ambitious
no.
and gain. Whereas Jim, I think, wanted to build the Christian Disneyland, the empire. And for Tammy, I think she just wanted to be surrounded by beauty and love and fabulous things.
Yeah,
Yes,
no.
absolutely.
It was that thing where she combined fabulousness with her Christianity that was so irresistible. Like, I remember sometimes being with her where you'd have this huge ice cream sundae, and then she'd whip out the Bible for a few minutes, and then get right back into her thing. Like she could. It was all part. It was so genuine and authentic.
It's sensual.
It's what's that line in the movie where he says Jesus is fun or something like that. Andrew has a line where he says like,
Not a
you know,
drag.
what?
He says, doesn't he say, God's not a drag?
God's not a drag. Like it's the whole idea was like, let's have fun. This can be
Yeah.
fun, like this doesn't have to be all whatever. And but I do think they kind of got caught in the buzzsaw of Falwell and all of that stuff.
I
Yeah.
gotta ask you, have you been following the Falwell Jr. story?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's so delicious, right?
I mean, but isn't that always the way?
Yeah.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like, come on.
Right, that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
I know, like, I just want to ask you about, like, Tammy is seen, and this is something I haven't figured out myself. Tammy is seen as a camp icon. So you make the film, and you want to somehow you want to celebrate that camp, but avoid creating something that is just camp because people think camp is
Bad word.
like a guilty pleasure or something not significant. How was it negotiating that tonal thing all the way through the film? Like, because I thought you did it so well. Like,
Well, I guess for me, because it is true. It's like she enjoyed larger than life anything, and I think that's probably what you could say like made it a bit camp. You can't ignore it because it's like so much of who she is. I mean, even you're talking about her eating the sundae and then having the Bible, or in your documentary when she goes, I'm addicted to Diet Coke. That's the only addiction I ever had. I mean, it's just like so kind of like, larger than like you don't say like the fact that she said that is so funny, and it's like she didn't have any restrictions, or she didn't never really censored herself about what she felt and what she wanted to enjoy. And perhaps like for me, being able to celebrate both is she's someone that, society tends not to like women who take up a lot of space in our history. They don't like women who take up too much space in the room, whether or not be like the things you say, the sound of your voice, the clothes you wear, the makeup. You kind of, we've been raised to be demure and, smaller. And Tammy Faye never really was going to do that. So to embrace fully that aspect, and then also to ground it in like, well, why is it happening? Like, the Steve Peters interview, or anytime she's with something, like even the penile pump. I was asking myself, like, why would she want to do this interview? And then I thought, well, maybe it affects her personally. Maybe she's confused because she's in a situation right now where she feels like her husband may not want her or see her the same way he did in the past, and she's now saying, well, this is something I'm wondering and I'm going to put it out there for the world. So it's not just a joke that we're like landing like, look, she did this, isn't that silly? Everything that she did that was kind of larger than life, or I tried to connect it to, well, what could it, and I don't know because I never met her and that's a very personal thing, but as an actor you have to create like secrets that you have. So I tried to go, well, how can I ground it in why would she be interested in this subject matter? And usually when you're interested, it's because something affects you personally.
Michael, what's your perspective?
It's a great question. I as a director, like as aesthetically, like don't think I could. I love camp. I love that genre. I don't think as a director I have it in me to do that. Like I wouldn't even know how to do that. I think but I agree with you that it's, I mean, I love that genre. Like there's nothing, like we're that saying, well, it can't be campy. It can't be campy. It's true that it's not campy, but I wouldn't mind it if it were. It would just be a different way to go. The genre that I sort of had in my mind, which is another genre that I think gets a bad rap, is melodrama, because I love a good melodrama. I think melodrama in an elevated form is very artful and very amazing. And so I thought of it a little bit more as that, as like an old melodrama. And because I think that the Bakers live their lives in this very, we talked about, Jim and Tammy like have that performative way of being where they're performing even when there's no audience, kind of. There's this like performative quality to them. I guess you could call it like histrionic a little bit. And so those bedroom scenes to me especially felt like melodrama, scenes out of a melodrama. And so I directorially wanted to do something that felt lush and colorful and very stimulating, like the wardrobe and the colors and the hair and the makeup and the music. There's so much coming at you to stimulate an audience, and they were like that. Like these, in some of the research that we looked at, the fascinated by like how crowded the set always was. It was like there would be like 30 people on stage at all times. It's like, who are these people, And so it's like if you go back and look at the movie a little bit, it's like in the montage scenes where there's all the like, God loves you, he really does. It's like there's 5 other people on the sofa and you don't know who they are. Like
I loved all that. That was so great.
Like when Tammy does her big apology, her big it's not all about the sparkles and stuff. And there's like 5 other people on the sofa with them who you don't know who they are, but it's like, cause they just wanted this, like, they just wanted volume, they just wanted volume. And so there's a scene from the movie that I love visually where we cut to, they've done it, they've built PTL. It's Tammy in that unbelievable outfit singing that song.
Christmas?
Yes. And we do this like really wide shot where you get to see the whole studio and it's just packed. There's just like so many people on the stage, and there's people walking from one stage to another. And Jessica and we all talked about it. It's like 24/7. It was just like that place was rocking. And so I wanted to capture the kind of like overload of it all.
You did such a great job doing it, but keeping the whole thing grounded. Like you, both of you, just like to take this loud character, this loud story, to give us all that, which we want, but without it, but just to keep it so grounded. I'm not going to say anything more positive. That's it.
Well, but also too, I was just going to say, I was interested in the Tammy beyond what the jokes were. So I was like, who is she as a flesh and blood woman? And even you talking about like the ice cream, I found something about Tammy that was so sensual. Like the way she loved food, the way she loved clothes, the way she loved makeup, the way she loved strangers and hugging and touching. And, she loved so greatly. I wanted to really kind of focus on that flesh and blood aspect of Tammy that maybe the media had kind of ignored because they had like a cardboard cutout of her in some aspect.
Well, I think that the weird sort of thing here is also that when, Michael, you said even in the bedroom they were sort of performative. And I think that we're living in such a media saturated age. Ever since MTV came along, we're all kind of performative now, right? I mean, even TikTok, Instagram, we're sort of all on all the time. And I think they were kind of prescient in a way of seeing that the camera is kind of like part of our lives, and we're all on TV, on some kind of screen. I mean, look at us here now. Here we are on a screen, and it's the screen age, right? And we're all in it, up to our necks in it. And so that idea that is inauthentic, that's the old-fashioned idea that has to be sort of retired. And they were sort of very forward about saying, no, look, we're in this sort of television age.
Didn't we talk about that they were sort of reality television?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the beginning of it.
Yeah, and there's a scene in the movie, like, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but he's like late she's waiting for him, she has to go on screen without him, he's off talking to Pat Robertson, and in the moment she just like changes the subject to, well, we're going to talk about being late, today, and then Jim comes on and he's making stuff up, and it was like this idea that they were just winging it, which is kind of reality television in its own way.
Right. Well, you've been very generous with your time. What do you want the audience to take away from? Well, two questions related. What's the biggest lesson you personally learned about her, and what is the takeaway you want the audience to take from the film?
I hope I can be the Tammy Faye that when confronted by people who could be unkind, sees the empathy in them, sees the goodness in them, sees the hurt in them, and understands that we don't have to sling things back and forth. I mean, like, there was something that while I was studying her, and maybe it was inspired by her, I don't even know, but like, so often on social media, people can be very unkind. And sometimes I've gone in the past and I've like, why is this person just saying these terrible things to me? And then I go onto their profile and I look at them, and then I discover some sadness or something that they're like a big issue that they're dealing with. And then all of a sudden I go, oh my God, if I hadn't taken the time to actually, and then communicate with them too, and oftentimes. And if I hadn't taken the time to do that, I would have just carried around this sadness of whatever was being said to me. And so that's what I learned, actually, is to look beyond meanness and understand it's probably coming from a deep-seated hurt or pain that someone might be feeling, and that there's the way that you deal with that is the way that you end that cycle.
Uh-huh.
I like this sort of, can't judge a book by its cover. That we didn't, we made fun of her for the way she looked. We made fun of her for the way she talked. For me, it's about trying to see past the way people look. I think that is a really big problem that we have in our society of, I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you sound. And I'm going to make a snap judgment about you based on that. And a tiny example that I've been thinking about recently is like, these stories about like, the wrestler with the dreadlocks or something. Like that they didn't like his hair. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh. And they made him.
And they made him cut his hair.
Oh, right.
That is something for some reason I've been thinking about, is like the hair. Like what is it about someone else, the way someone else wears their hair that we find threatening or something? For me, it's those kinds of things. It's just about like, let's just stop it with the surface stuff, and and that goes across both ways. That goes both ways, And so for me, that's what the message is for me.
Jessica, one of the things I will just say about you that reminds me of Tammy is you are so hardworking, and Tammy never stopped. You know, she pitched, she produced, she promoted, pitch, produce, promote, repeat, and like just Randy and I were saying, my gosh, you're like working so hard. So really, thank you so much for talking to us today, and congratulations to you both and the entire cast and the producers on what we think is an amazing. We're slightly biased, I guess. You know, don't take our word for it, but we think The Eyes of Tammy Faye is an amazing movie, and we're so just honored and overwhelmed that you would have taken it on. And congratulations, I should say,
Congratulations.
on making it so awesome.
Thank you. And also I have to say, like, something that was really important to me, because it's coming out in the movie theaters, and it's only in the movie theaters. It's not playing both in streaming and theaters, is because I really felt Tammy's message was connecting to strangers and connecting to others and understanding we're all the same. We're all, part of this grace. And so to be in a movie theater together with a bunch of people you don't know and share that message for us was very important. And so I'm excited for it to open on the 17th.
Yeah, 17th today. Go right now
Today.
from here and buy a ticket and go to the movie
Today, it's in the movie theater.
and kick off what will be the roaring 20s of the 21st century, right?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I just want to be back in a group of people who are all dancing and kissing each other and hugging each other and loving and laughing.
Slobbering all over each other, sneezing on each other. Yes.
I'm all about it.
Thanks, you guys. Good luck tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.